Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math for It Chapter 2, sponsored by LG's dual screen phone. Yes, Pennywise is capable of some truly amazing transformations, and likewise, LG's phone can turn into a dual screen phone. Now, this second screen has HD resolution and can use any app that you have on your phone. And you can easily move apps between the two screens with just a simple 3-finger swipe. Ooh! Just imagine you can watch a movie or TV episode and live tweet as you watch at the same time. You can also press this button right here to take a picture of the second screen and put that photo directly into your text stream. So you're talking box office numbers with your friend. They don't believe you, but you're looking at the evidence right there. So, bam, you take a picture and you send them the proof. Plus, if you're into gaming, like Fortnite with their movie and TV crossovers, well, and I love this feature. You just click here on the game icon, then you click on Gamepad, and it brings up not just one type of gamepad, but you can switch it to go better with the type of game you're playing. So, you have all these options, like a driving console, and you just pick whichever one best suits your game, and it makes it so much easier and more fun to play. And then the game's up here. Cool dual screen phone, LG. All right, now let's talk box office for It Chapter 2. So yeah, It Chapter 2 cost more money to make thanks to its adult cast, which demands bigger salaries, although good luck demanding that after this weekend. Save your money, everyone. But while it cost more to make, it made less its opening weekend at the box office. That's a weird business strategy you got going on there, Warner Brothers. But still, there's a lot to feel good about here, especially the fact that this isn't a Disney movie, and Hollywood is eager for a non-Disney success story, which is why you're going to see a lot of positive spin for this movie. And you know what? I'm going to contribute to it, because again, as I said, there is stuff here that that's positive. It's good. I think we can't get too excited, but you know what? It's good. All right, so It Chapter 2 came in at about $30 million below the first film, sinking instead of floating. But still, very few brands in the horror genre right now are able to produce this kind of opening. There's Jordan Peele, the revived Halloween franchise, although both of them have only done it once. Let's see if they can do it again. And It. And on that note, it's now kind of done it twice, because at least it's in the same ballpark. So it's got that going for it and actually puts it in the front running ahead of both Peele and the Halloween franchise for that one fact. Not even James Wan's The Conjuring franchise or Jason Blum's other horror films come close to this kind of debut. And these are even R-rated films. Yes, horror is an exciting space in Hollywood right now, winning awards to boot. And on that note, since Joker just took home Best Picture at the Venice Film Festival, oh boy, this is why Warner Brothers is being particularly aggressive here, with 2 more horror films for this year alone. Another Stephen King adaptation, Dr. Sleep, the final trailer just debuting. Plus, they're trying to shift DC into the genre, which is a perfect fit for Batman-related properties, like Joker. This is the situation, everybody always says Batman gets all the attention, everything skews towards Batman when it comes to DC. But I think when you see the lighter tone of Aquaman and Wonder Woman and how those movies succeeded incredibly, at the level of Nolan's Dark Knight, that approach seems to only be for the Batman corner of DC and not the brand overall. Because, for instance, horror directors are working very well in the space. And in fact, in a recent interview, I even suggested that David Fincher should be approached for a Batman universe movie based on his work on Mindhunter over on Netflix. Because the show screams Arkham Asylum. So good. Bill could be Jim Gordon. Let's do it. He had a small role in Justice League, but Warner Brothers is forgetting a lot of the past DC stuff, so we can just keep moving forward. But, Wan, of course, is a horror director, but Aquaman, to be fair, did have one horror-style sequence, and that sequence is getting a spin-off movie. Well, it's supposed to. Aquaman 2 and that spinoff are taking a very long time. But still, Aquaman itself had a lighter tone. And then Shazam had a bit of a horror bent, which many of us thought was awesome, but you can't ignore the fact that it's the least successful DCEU movie to date. And so on that note, with the poor RT score for It Chapter 2 and the weaker box office, we'll see if Andy Muschietti actually gets the Flash movie. He's going around talking it up, and I don't blame him for that, but you don't really hear. Warner Brothers is a bit mum on the issue at this point, because I don't think that Flash is really also a horror-style character, particularly if you jettison Ezra Miller. I think you're going to want to go into more of the Wonder Woman, Aquaman direction with that. I mean, if anything drives that home, it's that Shazam skewed a little Batman-y, and it didn't work. So I would, although we're staying positive here, we're keeping positive, and I would keep Muschietti if I were Warner Brothers. I mean, I think that he somewhat delivered here. I would just keep him in the horror genre, and I'd tell him to keep his new movie to under 2 hours. Now, sure, Avengers Endgame was 3 hours long, and there have been plenty of critically acclaimed and successful films, box office-wise, with this running time. But not only is this film getting slammed, both by critics and fans alike for pacing issues, no one's like, oh, I loved every minute of it. People are like, there were too many minutes of it. But also, when you have a 3-hour runtime, it limits how many showings you can get per screen in a day. Now, to be fair, It Chapter 2 is playing on a plethora of screens. I went to a theater to see it again this weekend. I think it was like on 4 to 5 screens at that multiplex. But that's on top of all that, when your Rotten Tomatoes score dips, as has been the case with It Chapter 2, and Warner Brothers has been trying very hard to manipulate their Rotten Tomatoes scores this fall with both Joker and It Chapter 2. Didn't work out with It Chapter 2, but as I also recently pointed out in my Joker video about its Oscar chances, etc., Rotten Tomatoes just added 600 new critics. So this kind of last minute fluctuation is going to happen all the time now because most of those critics don't have press access. So that's a scary thought, especially when they fall like this. It would be great if they went up at the last minute, right? Or stayed about the same for posterity's sake. But, this last minute plummet is, not great, especially as you go into the weekend and everyone's buying their tickets. So the Rotten Tomatoes score drops, and with a 3-hour runtime, that suddenly becomes a hurdle of getting people to the theater rather than an encouragement. Because it's like 3 hours of a great movie? Hooray! 3 hours of a meh movie? I'll wait for streaming. And I could do stuff while the movie's on, right? Because 3 hours is a really long time. Still, again, while It Chapter 2 isn't taking the horror franchise to new heights, it is maintaining relatively the same success of the first film. And again, that's important because no other horror franchise has been able to do that. So at least Muschietti didn't kill it. It's the second best opening for a horror film domestically and worldwide, the first, of course, being the first It, and it's also the second best opening for any movie ever in the month of December, again, the first being the first It. It's also the 5th biggest opening ever for any R-rated movie. That's impressive. That's very strong. So, while Billy Skarsgard is going around saying there would have to be a real special reason to revisit this material for a 3rd chapter, well, I bet Warner Brothers feels this box office is pretty darn special. But where would you go with it, right? The adult cast has proven to be a bad investment. Like Ryan Gosling, for the most part, audiences simply aren't interested in Jessica Chastain. There's always an anomaly here or there, but for the most part, audiences just don't want to see him. I'm not a Jessica Chastain fan, as you know, but I like Ryan Gosling. There's small groups for both of them. And maybe some of you are you got Hollywood niche Yahtzee. You like both of them. Who knows? But James McAvoy also in this group because outside of M. Night Shyamalan's films, he also does not bring in audiences. Even his X-Men movies are the weakest in the franchise at the box office. I mean, some of you might be like, I love these actors. They're brilliant. This is a business. You need to sell movie tickets. And these are things you just simply can't ignore, especially when they can depreciate this kind of a movie. So Warner Brothers could continue with Bill Hader's Richie, a clear critics and fan favorite, and I imagine a tad cheaper, although if this keeps up, maybe he won't be. They better lock him in now. Maybe he's already locked in. I'd be like, sign him quick before he wins any more awards for Barry or this movie. He's not going to win any awards for this movie. Maybe like a fan award, like MTV or something. But anyway, as the original cast also rapidly ages, they could do It the college years. And you might laugh, but I bet you'd also see that movie. So I'm sure that Warner Brothers will come up with something to keep milking this clear cash cow. Now hold on, I bet some of you are still distracted because you're wondering what else can you do with 2 on that LG dual screen phone? Well, let's take the Losers Club, right? They could look up maps and information about Derry and track their travel time as they reunite and talk about this information while they're still looking at it. Plus, they could live stream their terrifying encounters with Pennywise while texting each other, "I'm sorry I didn't believe you." And if you want to get meta, maybe you're watching Movie Math and you're like, "Dang, It Chapter 2 made a lot of money. Maybe I should go see it or see it again." Well, you can buy movie tickets while still watching Movie Math. You might also find yourself thinking about how awesome Bill Hader is and how you'd like to watch some more Bill Hader. Well, while you continue to watch the episode, you can go and look up what else Bill Hader's been in. So as for the rest of the box office, the fall movie season is just getting started. So the rest of the top 10 is August leftovers. Yes, this is a mighty nice new strong release date that Warner Brothers has created, the first weekend after Labor Day. And like Disney, with the first weekend of the summer, Thanksgiving, etc., Disney has so many dates locked down, while Warner Brothers is locking down this one. The Conjuring 3 is slated for 2020, right after Labor Day. And then there are 2 untitled horror films set for 2021 and 2022. With the untitled horror films, maybe someone could potentially muscle in there, but I don't see that happening. Who knows? It's becoming pretty bloodthirsty in Hollywood right now, and the release schedule is a real battleground, but hopefully Warner Brothers will be able to scare everyone away from this date that, again, they have created it. It was not, first weekend of summer, Thanksgiving, these seem like obviously great times to release a movie, but this was Warner Brothers. Back to school, back to work, let's go to the movies. It's really very clever. And one reason it's such a strong date is that the end of August is so weak. And so moviegoers are not only hungry for a big movie to finally be playing in a theater near them, but there's no competition. And on that note, let's take a look at the lack of competition. Angel Has Fallen continues to be a solid lifeline for Gerard Butler's career, as it enjoyed its second drop in just the 40s. And again, this will be a monster on streaming. But its theatrical box office is solid. It's certainly something Gerard Butler can hold his head high with and still classify himself as a movie star. Well, I don't know about star, but a movie actor. Good Boys is also showing very strong staying power and just passed Dark Phoenix at the domestic box office. What was I just saying about James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain? All right, so The Lion King is still in the top 5 8 weeks out. And it's not just because it's not a very competitive box office right now. Aladdin and Toy Story 4 were both in the top 5 for their first 7 weeks. Yet another illustration of Disney's dominance at the box office this summer. But The Lion King is a true box office king, as he's now number 13 all-time domestic and number 7 worldwide. That's amazing! Now talk about a strong brand. I'm sure, they haven't announced the Aladdin 2, or even there's not even been any discussion about The Lion King 2. Simba's Pride and The Return of Jafar. Expect the sequels to be somewhat similar to those sequels, although I don't think they have to do the same level of repeating, especially for Lion King. But I'd expect sequels to both those movies because the box office is just so strong. Finally, thanks to a pretty shallow box office pool this weekend, Peanut Butter Falcon was able to pop into the top 10 in its 5th weekend. Finally got into the top 10, which will hopefully be a solid, small, but still solid building block in the comeback that Shia LaBeouf is trying to forge this year. As for this coming weekend, 2 movies at the Toronto International Film Festival right now, so I'm sure you're seeing headlines about them. Hustlers, definitely. Goldfinch, it's not making the same kind of... It's not getting the same kind of attention as a bunch of strippers, right? But anyway, they will become available for U.S. moviegoers. Again, that's Warner Brothers' The Goldfinch and Styx's Hustlers. Now, if the latter, Hustlers, can open with a 3 in front of it, which isn't out of the question, that will be a great next step after the awards buzz that it's actually been generating in general and specifically for J-Lo. I don't know if Styx can afford an awards campaign budget. They have the upside too, but I don't think that, especially Kevin Hart after his controversy last year. But J-Lo winning an Oscar for a stripper who takes matters into her own hands, That's the kind of awards narrative I can see people getting behind. It's kind of like Mickey Rourke, although he, of course, ultimately didn't win the Oscar. But, Sylvester Stallone got the Golden Globe. So maybe both of them got Golden Globes, so maybe J-Lo can at least get a Golden Globe out of this. I'll be seeing it this week, and I'll be reviewing it early in the week, so I'll let you know my thoughts on it. And if you've managed to see Hustlers, do you think J-Lo could maybe get an award for it? All right, so anyway, in a moment, you'll get to see the It Chapter 2 ticket montage. Once again, you've tweeted me some absolutely fantastic photos. Some of you with the stars of the film. That's, of course, Jessica Chastain, but that's also the director, Andy Muschietti. And some of you even went dressed as Pennywise to the theater or ran into him when you got there. It's so nice to be able to see members of the wonderful BTT community. And again, stay tuned for the It Chapter 2 ticket montage. So that's this week's movie math. And remember, LG's dual screen phone is perfect for people like us who like to not just watch, but be engaged. From texting and looking things up while you watch to simultaneously buying movie tickets and more. Share your thoughts down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.